The devil works through people who seem normal on the outside, but cause endless pain and suffering in your life. These people enter your life disguised as friends, partners, or even family members, but their true mission is to destroy your peace, happiness, and progress. What you're about to discover in this video could save you years of emotional torture and spiritual warfare. The signs are often subtle at first, but once you recognize them, you'll never fall victim again. Stay with me through this entire video because each point builds on the previous one, creating a complete picture that will transform how you spot these dangerous individuals. And remember, to save yourself some time, you can always watch this video at 1.5 or 2 times speed. By the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge to protect yourself and those you love from the devil's human agents. Let's dive right in. Have you ever noticed how some folks just can't seem to exist without drama? One minute you're having a perfectly normal day, and the next minute, boom, they've turned a simple conversation into World War III. That's not an accident, my friend. That's exactly what they were sent to do. Think about it. Normal people might accidentally cause problems now and then. We're all human. But these chaos creators, they manufacture drama with the precision of a Swiss watch factory, and they're really, really good at it. Let me paint you a picture. You're at a family dinner. Everyone's laughing and having a good time. Then this person makes one little comment, just one. And suddenly your mom isn't speaking to your sister, your cousin is crying in the bathroom, and you're wondering what the heck just happened. Sound familiar? Here's what's wild. They'll start the fire, then act shocked when everything's burning. "Oh my goodness, why is everyone fighting?" they'll ask, with this tiny little smile they think you can't see. Meanwhile, they're enjoying the show they created. And it's not just once or twice. It's a pattern. Everywhere they go, work, church, family gatherings, friend groups, trouble follows them like a shadow. But somehow it's never their fault. Ever notice that? Everyone else is always the problem. What's happening is simple but dangerous. The devil doesn't need to do all the heavy lifting when he can send someone to disrupt your life from the inside. That's sign number 1 out of the 5 signs someone is sent by the devil. They create constant chaos. Normal disagreements have a beginning and an end. They're about something specific. But with these folks, the conflicts never really end. They just shape-shift. Today it's about what you said at dinner. Tomorrow it's about something you did 3 years ago that they suddenly remembered. Why does the devil want chaos in your life? Simple. When you're always putting out fires, you don't have time to grow. You don't have energy to pursue your purpose. You're too busy surviving to start thriving. It's a clever trap. Look at your life right now. Is there someone who always seems to be at the center of every storm? Do you feel like you're walking on eggshells around them, never knowing what might set them off? Do peaceful situations somehow transform into battlegrounds when they're around? That's not coincidence. That's not bad luck. That's spiritual warfare happening right in your living room, at your workplace, in your friend circle. The good news? Once you recognize the pattern, you can protect yourself. Knowledge is the first step to freedom. And remember, these chaos creators don't just affect your mood, they affect your entire life direction. They distract you from your blessings. They divert you from your path. The devil knows he can't always attack you directly, so he sends someone to make sure you're too exhausted from drama to fulfill your purpose. Now, have you ever felt that strange sensation when someone slowly cuts you off from everyone who loves you? It starts so subtly you barely notice. A small comment here. Did you see how your sister looked at you? A tiny observation there. Your friend didn't seem very happy to see you. Before you know it, you're questioning relationships that were once rock solid. I remember hearing about Maria. She had a tight circle of friends, a loving family, and a community that supported her. Then she met Alex. Within 6 months, Maria stopped attending family gatherings. "They just don't understand me like you do," Alex would say. Her weekend brunches with friends became less frequent. "I'm concerned they're using you," he'd whisper. Her church involvement? Those people are hypocrites anyway. This isn't just a sad story, it's a spiritual strategy. Isolation isn't just lonely, it's dangerous. When someone works to separate you from your support system, they're not protecting you, they're preparing you. Like a lion separating a zebra from its herd, they know you're more vulnerable when you're alone. This is sign number 2 out of the 5 signs someone is sent by the devil. They isolate you from your support systems. The scariest part, it feels like love at first. They just want to spend all their time with me. They're so protective. They know what's best for me. These thoughts comfort you as your world grows smaller and smaller. Think about the people in your life right now. Is there someone who gets upset when you spend time with others? Do they question your judgment about everyone except themselves? Have they convinced you that they're the only one who truly understands or cares about you? The isolation happens in phases. First comes the criticism. Your mum is so controlling. Then comes the wedge. We don't need to go to that family event. Finally comes the replacement. I'm all you need. What makes this especially sinister is how they customize their approach. In romantic relationships, they'll use love as the excuse. In friendships, they'll use loyalty. In family relationships, they'll use protection. But the goal is always the same, to become your only reference point for reality. Why does isolation serve the devil's purpose? Because humans were created for community. Your discernment gets sharper when you can check your perceptions with trusted others. Your resilience grows stronger when you have multiple sources of support. Your wisdom deepens when you hear diverse perspectives. A person sent by the devil knows this. They don't want you strong. They don't want you wise. They want you dependent and doubtful, with them as your only lifeline. The natural question is, but what about healthy boundaries? Aren't some relationships toxic? Absolutely. But here's the difference. Healthy boundaries create space for good relationships to flourish. Isolation eliminates all relationships except one. Watch for someone who criticizes every person who loves you. Notice when they question the motives of everyone in your support system. Pay attention when they make helping you contingent on you distancing yourself from others. Remember, your connection to community isn't just social, it's spiritual. When we're connected to others, we're stronger against attacks. We have multiple perspectives to help us see clearly. We have shoulders to cry on when we're hurting. Don't let anyone convince you that they alone have your best interests at heart. Don't let them persuade you that everyone else is against you. These are not the words of someone who loves you. These are the tactics of someone sent to destroy you. Now, let's talk about something that might hit a little too close to home for some of you watching. Have you ever spent time with someone and afterward felt like you needed a 3-day nap? Like they somehow sucked all the life force right out of you? Well, surprise! You might have just encountered what I call an energy vampire. And trust me, they're not just tired people having a bad day. These people don't just happen to be exhausting. They're designed to drain you. That's sign number 3 out of the 5 signs. Someone in your life is sent by the devil. They drain your energy and resources. Now, I'm not just talking about your chatty neighbor who loves to tell long stories about her cat. I'm talking about people who systematically take and take and take without ever truly giving back. They're like those phone chargers that actually drain your battery instead of charging it, except they're draining you. Think about it this way. Have you noticed how after spending time with certain people, you don't just feel tired, you feel empty? Your wallet might be lighter, your emotional reserves depleted, or your spiritual tank running on fumes. That's not a coincidence. These energy vampires have an uncanny ability to make their problems suddenly become your problems. Their emergencies require your immediate attention. Their financial crises need your solution. And somehow, no matter how much you give, it's never quite enough. What makes this especially tricky is how they disguise their draining as normal relationship stuff. Friends help each other out, right? They say as they ask for money for the 5th time this month. I just need someone to talk to, they explain during their 3 a.m. call that leaves you zombie walking through work the next day. The spiritual reality is that your energy is connected to your purpose. When you're constantly drained, you can't pursue what you're meant to do in this world. You can't build what you're meant to create. You can't become who you're meant to be. And that's exactly what the devil wants. Let me break it down with some examples that might sound familiar. The friend who always has a crisis right before your big interview or important event. The relative who somehow targets your payday for their latest emergency. The co-worker who dumps their work on you while taking credit for your ideas. The romantic partner who needs constant emotional support but disappears when you're struggling. These aren't just annoying people. They're on a mission to ensure you never have enough energy or resources to fulfill your purpose. Here's what's wild. They can spot your giving heart from a mile away. You know why? Because kind, generous people make perfect targets. While everyone else puts up boundaries, you keep your door open, and they exploit that goodness for their gain. The spiritual warfare aspect is real. When your resources, whether time, money, emotions, or attention, are constantly diverted to someone else's needs, you have nothing left for your calling. Your light dims, your strength fades, and that's a victory for the forces working against you. So what's the difference between supporting someone going through a tough time and dealing with an energy vampire? Simple: reciprocity and results. Healthy relationships involve give and take. They involve growth and positive change. But with these drainers, it's all take, and nothing ever improves. If you're feeling this hit home right now, it might be time to examine who has access to your energy. Is there someone who consistently leaves you feeling depleted? Someone whose needs somehow always trump yours? Someone who seems to target you specifically for help that never ends? You deserve to protect your energy. You were given your resources for a purpose, and it wasn't to be drained dry by someone sent to derail your life. And hey, if this video is helping you identify these patterns in your life, why not smash that subscribe button? That way, you'll never miss another video that could literally save your peace of mind and transform your relationships. Let's build a community of people who recognize these spiritual attacks for what they are. Now, there's something particularly dangerous about a person who targets not just your energy or your relationships, but your faith itself. This attack cuts deeper than any other because it aims at your spiritual foundation, the very core of who you are and what you believe. Sign number 4 out of the 5 signs someone is sent by the devil is this: they deliberately discourage your spiritual growth. And this is perhaps the most damaging sign of all. These faith destroyers operate with surgical precision. They don't usually come at you saying, "Hey, let's abandon all moral principles and live recklessly." No, they're much more subtle than that. They plant seeds of doubt with innocent-sounding questions. Do you really think prayer makes a difference? Are you sure God cares about those small details? Isn't that belief a bit outdated? What makes this attack so effective is that it often comes disguised as intellectual conversation or genuine concern. They position themselves as free thinkers who just want you to question everything, but somehow their questions always lead in one direction: away from faith, away from purpose, away from spiritual discipline. Watch closely for the pattern. When you share something meaningful about your spiritual journey or a breakthrough you've experienced, how do they respond? Do they mock what matters to you? Do they dismiss your experiences? Do they constantly challenge your beliefs without ever being open to your perspective? I'm not talking about friends who engage in healthy spiritual discussions or who might practice different faiths. I'm talking about someone who seems bizarrely fixated on weakening your convictions and pulling you away from practices that strengthen you spiritually. There's a profound spiritual truth at work here. The devil knows that your spiritual life is your power source. It's what gives you discernment to recognize attacks. It's what gives you strength to resist temptation. It's what gives you wisdom to make good choices. When someone works to disconnect you from that power source, their motives deserve serious scrutiny. These faith destroyers have a toolkit they regularly employ. They'll use ridicule. You still believe that? They'll use false equivalence. All religions are basically the same. They'll use selective evidence. pointing out every hypocrite they've ever met in church while ignoring all the genuine people. They'll use timing, bringing up their skepticism precisely when you're already struggling. They're particularly skilled at suggesting alternative paths that look spiritual but lead nowhere good. Why follow all these rules when you can just follow your heart? These crystals have helped me more than prayer ever did. This philosophy lets me do what I want without all the guilt. The consequences of this influence can be devastating. I've seen people walk away from beliefs that once anchored their lives. I've watched as they traded time-tested wisdom for whatever trending philosophy promised freedom without responsibility. And I've witnessed the confusion and emptiness that followed. This isn't about being closed-minded or afraid of questions. Authentic faith can withstand honest inquiry. This is about recognizing when someone's consistent agenda is to weaken what strengthens you, to question what guides you, and to undermine what uplifts you. Pay attention to how you feel after spiritual conversations with this person. Do you feel confused rather than enlightened? Discouraged rather than inspired? Are you less likely to pray, read spiritual texts, or attend worship after spending time with them? These are warning signs that shouldn't be ignored. Remember, spiritual growth isn't just about religious practices. It's about developing your inner compass, your moral foundation, your sense of purpose. Anyone actively working against that growth is not working in your best interest, no matter how much they claim to care about you. This attack is particularly painful because it targets something deeply personal and precious, but recognizing it is the first step toward protecting the faith that has carried you through life's darkest moments. Don't let anyone steal what sustains you. Now, I need you to take a moment right now and think about something you're deeply insecure about. Maybe it's your appearance. Maybe it's a past failure. Maybe it's a fear about your future. Whatever it is, I want you to notice how vulnerable you felt just bringing it to mind. Now imagine someone who can spot that insecurity instantly and knows exactly how to use it against you. That brings us to sign number 5 out of the 5 signs someone in your life is sent by the devil. They mirror your deepest insecurities and use them as weapons. Have you ever met someone who seemed to have an almost supernatural ability to identify exactly where you're most vulnerable? Someone who could zero in on your greatest fears and self-doubts with frightening accuracy? Someone who always knew exactly what comment would cut you to the core? Let me ask you, how did they know? How did they figure out so quickly what takes most people years to discover about you? Could it be that they were equipped with a special radar for human weakness? When most people get to know us, they discover our strengths and weaknesses organically over time. But these insecurity exploiters? They seem to detect your vulnerable spots almost immediately. And more disturbing still, they appear to catalog them for future use. Think back to your interactions with certain difficult people in your life. Have you noticed how they can bring up something from years ago? Something you thought no one remembered or cared about? At precisely the moment when it will hurt the most. Have you felt the sting when they remind you of your biggest mistake during an argument that had nothing to do with it? This isn't normal human behavior. Most people, even when angry, don't strategically target others' deepest wounds. But someone sent to derail your life. That's exactly their playbook. What makes this particularly confusing is that many of these people initially presented themselves as safe havens for your insecurities. They encouraged you to open up. They created an environment where you felt comfortable sharing your deepest fears. You can tell me anything, they said, and you believed them. Only later did you realize that every vulnerability you disclosed became ammunition in their arsenal. Every insecurity you revealed became a button they could push whenever they wanted to control or hurt you. Ask yourself, is there someone in your life who seems to enjoy pointing out your flaws? Someone who repeatedly brings up things that make you feel small. Someone who always seems to remind you of what you're most ashamed of. There's a critical difference between someone who lovingly challenges you to grow past your insecurities and someone who exploits them to keep you down. One wants to see you overcome your self-doubts. The other needs you to remain trapped by them. From a spiritual perspective, this targeting of your self-worth is no accident. When you're constantly doubting yourself, questioning your value, and focusing on your flaws, you're too distracted to recognize your purpose and too demoralized to pursue it. That's exactly where these negative forces want you. The devil doesn't need to destroy you if he can just keep you believing you're already destroyed. He doesn't need to limit you if you're already limiting yourself based on the insecurities his agents keep reminding you of. Look at your relationships and reflect on this pattern. When you achieve something great, is there someone who immediately reminds you of your past failures? When you're feeling confident, is there someone who knows exactly what to say to deflate that confidence? When you're moving forward, is there someone who always seems to drag you back to your old self-doubts? This isn't just someone being thoughtless or mean. This is targeted. This is strategic. This is someone who knows that the most effective way to control you is to make you doubt yourself. The spiritual significance of this tactic runs deep. Your self-worth is connected to your understanding of your value in this world. When someone systematically attacks that sense of worth, they're not just hurting your feelings. They're attempting to rewrite your spiritual identity. Pay attention to how these people operate. They often use phrases like, "I'm just being honest," or "I'm telling you this for your own good," to disguise their attacks as helpful feedback. They might say, "I thought you could handle the truth," when they see you're hurt by their unnecessary criticism. But here's what you need to understand. Truth spoken without love is often not truth at all. It's manipulation. Feedback given without genuine concern for your growth isn't feedback. It's sabotage. Sometimes these insecurity exploiters work in groups. They'll discuss your weaknesses with others, creating an environment where multiple people are reinforcing your self-doubts. "We were all just talking about how you always" is a phrase that should immediately raise red flags. The connection between persistent self-doubt and spiritual vulnerability cannot be overstated. When you're constantly questioning your worth, your judgment, and your abilities, you're less likely to stand firm in your convictions. You're more likely to be swayed by destructive influences. You're easier to manipulate and control. Take a moment now to ask yourself, who in my life consistently makes me feel worse about myself? Who seems to have a mental database of all my insecurities? Who always knows exactly where to strike to cause maximum damage to my self-esteem? That person isn't just having a bad day or lacking social skills. They're executing a specific strategy, and recognizing this strategy is the first step toward freeing yourself from its effects. Remember, someone who truly cares about you might occasionally point out areas for growth, but they do so with love, with timing, with context, and with a genuine desire to see you overcome your limitations, not to keep you trapped by them. You were not created to be defined by your insecurities. You were not meant to live in constant self-doubt. And anyone who tries to keep you in that prison is not acting in your best interest, no matter what they claim. Now that you recognize these 5 deadly signs, the chaos creators, the isolation specialists, the energy vampires, the faith destroyers, and the insecurity exploiters, you have knowledge that can literally save your life. And knowledge isn't just power, it's protection. These 5 signs don't usually appear in isolation. Someone sent by the devil typically displays multiple signs, creating a perfect storm of negative influence in your life. But now that you can identify them, you can begin to shield yourself from their effects. Start by trusting your intuition. That feeling in your gut when something isn't right, that's your spiritual discernment at work. Don't ignore it. Don't rationalize it away. Your spirit often recognizes danger before your mind can explain it. Begin to distance yourself from these individuals. You don't need a dramatic confrontation. Just gradually reduce their access to your life, your energy, and your vulnerabilities. Create healthy boundaries and stick to them, no matter how they try to make you feel guilty. Surround yourself with people who genuinely celebrate your growth and support your journey. Rebuild the connections that these negative influences tried to destroy. And remember, forgiveness is important for your peace. But forgiveness doesn't mean allowing continued harm. If you ignore these warnings and return to these toxic relationships, you're literally choosing to suffer. You're deciding to let someone steal your peace, your purpose, and your potential. And frankly, that's just foolish now that you know better. Share this knowledge with others who might be suffering under similar influences. Knowledge this powerful shouldn't be kept to yourself. It could be exactly what someone else needs to break free. And before you go, the YouTube algorithm has already selected the perfect next video for you based on what you've just learned. Click on the suggested video now. It's there for a reason, and it might contain the exact piece of wisdom you need for the next step in your journey. Your growth doesn't stop here. Your protection doesn't end with this video. Continue learning, growing, and strengthening your spiritual discernment. The freedom you deserve is just beginning.